This year is an excellent year for Final Fantasy fans. This year, we're coming out with a new extension, Final Fantasy Intergrade. It's an addition to the new Final Fantasy that released last year, Final Fantasy VII Remake. And today, we're going to review whether or not the remake is still viable in 2021 and whether or not you should even pick it up now. Or if you already got it, especially back in March when they had the free deal going on for PS Plus members, if you should still play it or play it all the way through, if it's worth your time. So, let's get into it. The graphics are beautiful. They are stunning. They have cutscenes that feel like movies, and you honestly feel like you're watching like a Final Fantasy VII movie. It's great. The gameplay graphics still stand out, even from going from the cutscenes to the actual gameplay itself. Oh my god, it's so good. It feels like it is. Like Final Fantasy 15, when you go from the cutscenes to the actual graphics of the gameplay, you feel a little like it's a little lackluster. Now, when you jump into it, it feels almost the same all around the board. And sometimes you split into cutscenes without even knowing it. There is like no loading time either. It feels like the cutscene's just loading it for you, and it's really awesome. The mouth and voice, compared to all the other Final Fantasy games, the voice acting is great. It's on point. The actual movement of the mouth does match the actual saying of the word. It's not like most of the other Final Fantasy games where you got a little lag between the two. Really awesome. Honestly, did really well with the graphic sides. Final Fantasy and Square Enix always does very well with graphics, and it's just something that it's really you enjoy it because it's so pleasing to the eye. It's amazing. Let's talk about the gameplay though. The battle system, you can either use easy mode or hard mode or normal mode, and the system, it's easy because it slows down the time. You don't have to really think too much about what you're doing, except for the certain bosses and stuff like that you fight. So it is really good when it comes to that. You can go back to the old school mode where literally all you do is hit the commands and that's it. But in normal mode, you actually have to use the fighting like Final Fantasy 15 and actually use your magic and use your items while you're doing that. And I prefer the normal mode because it keeps you busy more often. The hard mode is something else. So the hard mode, when you beat the whole entire game, you get to actually like have a challenge. The magic used is all you can use. If you run out of MP, you're screwed. If you don't have any of the skills to help you build MP or have your max SP, you're screwed. You can't use items, which is really awesome. I really think they should have did a New Game Plus mode, but at the same time, you can go back and replay all the chapters in hard mode, and it is a good challenge because I played the first boss, and it took me a couple tries to just figure out what I needed to do differently because I didn't have the items to use. I'm used to using all the items, so that was really cool. But some of the aspects of the harder areas in the first playthrough, even on normal mode, they are semi-difficult. There was a couple bosses that I had to replay again because of the fact that I could not beat them with what I had equipped. And I just had to figure out what they needed to be defeated. That's all it is. So the gameplay, honestly, really good. I think it is worth playing. The only problem I have is when we get to aerial combat, man. When I get to aerial combat, it just doesn't feel right. When you jump up in the Cloud or Tifa and a melee character, it just does not feel right. I think they should at least make it where you only use magic or items to attack the enemies, or Barret, or something like that, where it's all ranged characters and that's it. But they could do something a little bit more with the aerial, make more combo style or something like that as well. So hopefully maybe they fix that in the next one. We'll see. The story is what makes Final Fantasy VII, and general Final Fantasy VII, any Final Fantasy, it's always a story that hooks you in and then keeps you coming back. This story is no different. This fills in all the gaps from the Final Fantasy VII, the first one. Sometimes I was playing and I find myself saying, hey, that's cool. I honestly didn't... It fills in the gaps that, well, what happened during this time? Like, where were the other characters at? What were they doing? This kind of fills in those gaps and makes it really cool. Even if it wasn't really what they were doing back when they made the original game, and they weren't thinking to that extent, this fills in a lot of those gaps where you're like, huh, that's pretty cool, and that makes a lot of sense. So it's really cool how they did that. Honestly, I think replayability is a little hard for me. I like New Game Plus modes. I like Dark Souls, stuff like that. And I like the fact that you can go in with all of your equipment and play a harder mode, which you can do in Final Fantasy VII Remake, but you have to play hard mode in each chapter. You could choose a chapter. Let's say you don't want to play number 1 again, you can just go to number 5 or whatever and play that in hard mode. But at the same time, I'd like to restart and not even have the choice. You know, make that much more difficult. I have to grind through the game again. It's just my preference. You could be different, honestly. But this was, you know, I played hard mode in this whole entire gameplay that you're seeing now, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I started chapter 1, and I'll just keep on moving through the chapters. I won't be going back and forth or skipping a chapter or, you know, backing out and going again. I will be starting from the whole game over again. So the replayability is really good, but at the same time, I think there could be more to it. So just to go from that, and you know, even more weapons or higher weapons or better weapons or something like that. I haven't really witnessed New Game Plus mode all that much, or hard mode, but hopefully they do a little something better, or even just a later update in the next game. All in all, this review is all about, is it worth it? Is it worth picking up if you don't have it already? PS Plus members again got it in March for free, and or those who picked it up all, way back when it came out, or don't even have it yet. Is it worth to get now? So in June 10th of this year, you're going to get the Intergrade extension. I think he plays Yuffie the Assassin. For those who played Final Fantasy before, Final Fantasy VII area, you will know who that is. And it looks really cool from the little small trailer they gave us. But it's supposed to come out in June 10th. So that's good. And that honestly gives you a little bit more freshness for this game. Even if you pick it up now, beat it by then, and then go in and play the new one, new extension that they have out now. This also leads me to believe Yuffie will be one of the playable characters, or one of the main playable characters in the next game, which would be really, really awesome. They're also going to come out with a lot of things. I guess it's a good Final Fantasy VII, or Final Fantasy year in general. I think they're coming out with a couple mobile games as well for Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy VII itself on the mobile device, which makes it look better. I think there is already one there, but it's like the old classical. This one makes it look more like the PlayStation style, so that's kind of cool. And then they've got some Battle Royale game. I don't know if I'd pick that up, but you know, to each his own. For those who like Battle Royale, maybe you pick that up. I think this game is worth picking up, especially right now. We're about to hit the Xbox. I think it's in the Xbox store, or it might not be, or it might be soon. And you got the new extension coming out. I mean, you've got a lot of things that you're looking forward to as a Final Fantasy VII player. So definitely, I would honestly pick it up again if I didn't have it already. So let me know what you guys think about this kind of video. This is something new I'm trying. I'm doing some reviews on some of the games that I own. Leave a comment down below and tell me if you want to see something else, or maybe even maybe pick a game that you'd like me to review at some point in time. Again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content, and I'll see you in the next video.
Shit, the bomb!
20 minutes until